Hello, my name is Noah Mayu, and I am a finance consultant with I.B.I.S Inc. And today I would like to talk to you about Lockbox functionality, an introduction to a product that I.B.I.S has developed as an add-on to standard accounts receivable functionality and payment journals. Topics for today's discussion are: what is Lockbox? I'm going to give a tour of the module. I'm going to demo a clean import. Also going to demo an overpayment and an underpayment, or a file that shows overpayments and underpayments, and then just a quick review. What is Lockbox? As an introduction to this software, Lockbox functionality is a package offered by most banks to batch process checks. What happens is the bank has a check processing facility. I know Wachovia, Wells Fargo has one here in Atlanta. The checks come in by mail. It's mailed to an actual lockbox. A lockbox is created for each of the bank's customers, which would be for your needs. You give it to your bank. The bank would create a lockbox for you and give you a PO box to have your customers send their payments to. When these payments are received, the bank scans the envelope, opens the envelope, and then scans all the contents, including the check. The checks are put into a deposit, but they're also sent to individuals who actually look at the check, type out the whose check it is, who's making the payment, how much the payment is for, and then also any payment detail that's included. So invoice numbers, amounts of invoice, credit notes, any sort of notes like that. And all of this information is transcribed into a text file, which is then put together by the bank, which allows you to access this information. The problem with standard AX is there's no way to dump this information into a payment journal. So us here at I.B.I.S, we have put together a package that works with your payment journal functionality to process these payments in a much easier format. Now, there are some problems with Lockbox. First is you have to get your customers to send their payments to the Lockbox. Second of all, they have to include the payment detail of payments they're making. This is pretty critical. The functionality, I'll discuss this more in depth in a minute, but the functionality, it looks at three things. It looks at the customer information, including the bank account and routing number. It also looks at invoice number, and last it looks at the amount it has for the invoices or the total amount of the check, and the system tries to apply that. Now, if you can get your customers to do this, the last issue is that this information is transferred from the check and the detail at the bank by hand. You actually have an individual looking at these documents and creating this file, actually physically typing it into the system. Because of that, you're subject to typos, you're subject to misspellings, you're subject to stuff being left off of the file. And again, the functionality of this add-on tries to address some of that, but you'll always have issues with let's say, the file coming from the bank. The next thing I'd like to do is I'd like to show you actually how Lockbox works. And I'm going to shrink this down real quick. What happens is in the morning you come in and you go to your bank website, or you have your bank send it to you, and they'll send you a text file. And the text file looks like this. It's just basically, it comes in, it doesn't look like much on the top, but it has information regarding the who it's from. If you look over here, it has Yogli Mowgli and Byron's Inc. These are two of your customers, possibly. It gives a check number. It also gives the routing information and the bank account information from that customer. And if you have this information in AX, in your customer details, the system will actually look to match that to try to apply the payments, or at least try to pull the proper customer up when you process the lockbox file. So again, this is kind of a brief example of a small lockbox file with 2 checks in it. So from this point, you can go into AX, and you can go to your accounts receivable, and the add-on is right here in your journals. You have your standard payment journal, payment transfer, and then you have your lockbox. When you click on this, you get this screen. This screen is I guess your home screen. It's got a couple different different buttons and tabs here. But for right now, the most important button is this import file. And from here, this is how I actually import the file from the bank into the system. So I come here, I find my file. Oops, excuse me. And I'm just going to run through 3 scenarios as I discussed in the introduction. But I find my file, I import it. The first thing it does is it asks you if you would like to run an edit. This little option is just a little report that comes up, and it pretty much is a brief description of what's in the file. If you look at this, it shows the 2 checks. You have one from Yogi Mowgli, one from Byron's Inc. The balance of the checks, $80.60 on one, $4,250.96 on the other. And it shows the invoices, the balance, the invoice balance as the customer sees it, and the payment amount that they paid. Now, this information is just what's coming from the lockbox file, which is coming from your customer in the bank. This is not information that's actually in AX. And it's just for review purposes. You don't have to look at this every time, but it gives you the option. Once you bring it in on this overview page, just gives you a total. It gives you the ID, the lockbox total, number of checks, number of invoices on the checks, created by. It's giving you my name here because I'm the user, date and time, and post date and time. There is no. This has not been posted yet. Once you start posting these in AX, once they're posted, they are retained in this form. You can do a cleanup at a later date to clean these up. You know, if you want to do it monthly, yearly, however you want to do. But until you clean it up, it actually retains each one of these files in here. As long as the file has not been posted, you can modify it. But once you post the journal in AX, you cannot modify this file. You can just delete it. If you have to re-import it, you have to delete it. You have to go delete the payment journal and come back and process it again. The next tab is the Details tab. And this is where all the fun happens. This gives you the details of the payments and on each customer. Again, we have the 4 buttons up here. We have the import file, which we've used. We have the process, which is validate and post. This is not posting in AX. This is just validating and posting this lockbox into a brand new payment journal, which the system will create. Now, for today's lecture, I'm not going to post the journals in AX because I like to reuse these invoices in the system, as this is test data, and I would have to recreate. As I said once before, if I post it, I have to recreate all this data again. So, just as a caveat, I'm not going to post these in AX. I'll show you the journals when we actually post them. There's a functions button. It's a check image button. You can attach an image of the check if your bank provides it. This cleanup selection here, this allows you to clean up and actually delete the posted lockbox files in the overview tab. I would probably keep your files for at least a month, maybe a quarter, but if you just like it clean, you can do this on a daily basis. You have customers here, which takes you directly to your customer master. You have a payment journal and your write-off journal. These journals, once we process the journal in here, it'll take you to the payment journal or the write-off journal in AS. Revalidate customers is a action where if you hit this, if you made changes in either one of these forms, it'll go back and try to apply the payments to the proper customer. There's a statistics report here that just gives you the statistics of this particular report, and reallocate invoices is kind of like revalidate customers. If you've gone through, you make corrections, it's almost like a refresh. It goes through and it looks at everything again and tries to apply the payments to the best the system knows how. Now, actually looking at the Details tab, you have a series of columns here: customer balance, invoices, name, key. However, this is the information coming from the bank. This customer column here, what it's saying here is that the information from the bank matches the information in the system. So if you look at this right here, you have 6 check marks here. This means that if I wanted to post this, I can post this right now. The system sees no trouble with the postings. Again, the balance says that the balance on the check amount matches the balance on the invoice, and the invoice numbers means that the invoice on the detail of the check matches the invoice in the system. And it's the same on both of these. When I highlight a particular field up here in the summary, I come down here to the lower portion, and it actually gives you the details. There's 2 checks here. Each check pays 1 invoice. But when I highlight Yogli Mogli up top, it should bring down all the Yogli Mogli invoices that are included in the file. In this case, it shows 1 invoice, invoice number 101,500. The invoice balance is $20.60. The payment amount is $20.60. There is no discount. You can add a discount if you want to. There is no discount override. There's no payment variance. We'll look when there's a payment variance to kind of show you how that works in just a second. I click on Byron's Inc. The same thing. It shows the invoice is valid. All the detail in the system matches the detail in the Lockbox file. Now, you have a series of tabs here as well. The balance will take you to a customer balance screen. These are just helpful things that we've added in to make it easier for you. You can add an invoice here, or delete an invoice. You can go to your open invoices in the system. You can go to transactions for this customer. And these are the standard AX forms. So you're actually, from this form, you're going into the information in your customer master. And lastly is the functions button. It uses to validate the invoices. This kind of goes back and looks at your invoices, make sure they validate. You can delete invalid invoices. You can also place remainder on account. Let's say they do an overpayment. They pay 40 instead of 20. For $20, you can place that remainder on account. You can create a write-off journal. Now, the write-off journal is a completely separate journal from the payment journal. And the way this works is, let's say there's a payment difference of 10 cents or $1 or something that you're not going to chase the customer for, or if they've overpaid it, you're just not going to kind of refund for it. You don't want to leave it on account. You want to clean it off. By creating a write-off journal, it'll actually create another line. And when this line is created, it actually goes to a predetermined account that we do in the setup of this add-on. And when you post the payment journal will post. Then the system will automatically generate another journal for the actual write-off of that balance. It's a neat little bit of functionality that just makes keeping your accounts clean extremely easy. And apply shortage to discount if you just want to, instead of having a write-off journal or show or leave the invoice as unsettled, you can apply shortage to discount. So just functionality. In this case, I've actually deleted it, but in this case, the file's ready to go. I would go to process. I would go to validate. It doesn't bounce because I've deleted a line here. But I could post it, and then I can actually go to functions into my payment journal. But let me just do a different scenario real quick. And let's say like here, I've gone in here, I've deleted a line where I didn't want to delete. Since I haven't done anything with this file, I can delete it. And then I can just re-import this file or another one. And I'm actually going to import another file really quickly to show you a underpayment. And we'll go through this real quick. And I don't want to run, in this case I don't want to run the edit, but you can each time you want to. It's personal preference. I've imported a different file, and looking at this file, the first thing you notice is there's a red X here. So the balance for this payment doesn't match the balance for the invoice in here for that customer invoice. Now I have the first check highlighted up here. The open balance on the customer account. The original check amounts for $60.60. We're going to leave the check amount the same. Total payments is $60.60. However, if you look down here, the invoice they've highlighted is for $20.60. Now, it's showing the overpayment of $40. This system has no idea how to apply this $40. So you can do a couple things. You can leave it like it is, you post it, and it's the same function as if I go here, place remainder on account. Same thing there, so it does it for you automatically there. But if I wanted to, I just click on this highlight here, it brings it to all invoices. Let's just say they forgot to put the invoice number on the detail. I can come in here and I can pick an invoice on here. That's $31. It brings it in here. I'm showing a difference of a payment variance of 803. If I wanted to, I could write it off, or I could leave the payment on account. It's just a personal preference for you. In this case, we don't know what it's for. There's no direct matches. We're going to leave it alone and let that post. Just a typical version of how you can use an overpayment here. Now, on the second check, it's a true overpayment. They paid $1,204.20, and the invoice is for $1,204.10. In this case, it didn't pick the variance up here, but if you notice the variance up on the total payment, it's there. If we try to settle, if we try to validate this, it won't let us validate because the payment amount and the invoices to be paid amounts will not match. So what I can do is I go in here to payment amount. I can actually change the 10 to a 20. At this point, I can go to functions. I can place the remainder on account, which would be this here, and it creates a new one. It doesn't show anything here, but what it's actually doing is it's just telling the journal that you're going to add additional. You're going to have an additional line, a voucher showing that unapplied payment on account. I also make sure that I delete that. Or I can create a write-off journal. Write-off journal. It shows here. It's got the little red or the little warning, or I guess attention symbol to let you know that this is a separate journal. You can create a write-off journal for 10 cents. It's going to the GL account. I'll show you the settings for that in a minute. And with the GL settings, we've also attached department call center. So this is dimension information too, which can help. At this point, everything matches. So I can go in here to process. I'm going to validate. Lockbox is okay. And then I can post. Again, I'm not going to post it because I want to show you Underpayment, which works pretty much the same. So let me do that real quick. I'm just going to go back here. I'm going to delete this file. And then I'm going to import my Underpayment file. And yep, I'll run this. So here, again, the same thing. What I've done is I've changed the bottom file to be an underpayment. So in this case, they're paying $1,204 even. They've shorted you 10 cents. So I can change this to 0. I'm going to go to functions. I'm going to create write-off. It creates the write-off journal. In this case, again, it's showing you, it just put on top. And the same thing is pulling in the account, department, cost center. I can go to process, validate that the lockbox is okay. I can go to process and post. We're going to do today's date. It allows you to backdate it since the payment's actually tomorrow. And in this case, I have an issue with the country trans in this environment. However, I should be able to go here, go to the payment journal. Because it did not create the payment journal because of this error, and it's this is a data error. Because of that, I can't go, but I would be able to actually access the payment journal just as if I went here, went to the last created payment journal, and actually showing the Lockbox journal here. So this just might be an issue. But I should be able to pick up the lines. It didn't bring it in. There's an issue with how the data is in the system. But it'd be here. Those lines would be here. I would validate and post as you normally would. If there's approvals, you validate, get your approvals, and post. As soon as it's posted, a new journal will post up down here for your write-off. And it'll say Lockbox write-off. And then you can process the second journal. You have to process the second journal. It's just, and all it is going into lines, validating the lines are correct, and that the balance is correct, and then posting it as well. Once that is done, the Lockbox edition knows that it's been posted, so it will not, and that's showing invoices here, it will not let you modify this again. If it comes in incorrectly, you don't like what's going, you have to reverse everything and repost it. In most cases, it's better to just do adjustments and adjust it out properly, just as a word of warning. And the last thing I want to show you today, outside of the functionality, is, if I go to down here in accounts receivable, to set up, there's Lockbox parameters, Lockbox import import configuration. The Lockbox parameters is the general tab. This just tells you really the journal. It's an AR payment journal. Take your bank account. Just the basic information you want for how you want your journals to be created. And then the write-off journal. This is where I said before. The journal name will still be a payment journal. However, you're hitting the customer, or you're hitting the. This is trade AR. You have a default account for a short pay and a default account for overpay. Again, these are default accounts, so when you're in the payment form, you can change this account to whatever you want to on the write-off journal. The kind of beauty of the Lockbox is the flexibility that you can go in and change what you need to make it work for your needs. And then lastly, the import configuration. This is configuration for the actual file. This just set up once is a one-time setup. The only time it changes is the bank file change. So that's where your setup information is here. As for that, that completes the webinar for this morning. This is just an introduction to Lockbox functionality, kind of show you the basic functionality. If you're interested, please email us at info@I.B.I.S.com. We'd be glad to set up a proper demo showing a lot more of the functionality. And I would enjoy talking with you if you have any more questions. Thank you very much for your time, and hope you enjoy the rest of your day.